Welcome to the National Mississippi River Museum and Aquarium. My name is Jennifer Drana and I am the Director of Education here. And today we're going to be actually talking about our bald eagle. So birds come in all sorts of different shapes and sizes. Here in Iowa, you have everything from the little teeny tiny ruby-throated hummingbird up to things like the trumpeter swan and great blue herons. And so a lot of variety within that. If you look out your window into your backyard or when you're out at a city park, you might see things like chickadees or cardinals or the red-winged blackbirds. And all of them have one thing in common, and that is their body covering. So all birds, regardless of their size and shape, have feathers. And feathers have a lot of different purposes for birds, the obvious one being for movement. So most birds use these for flight, but they also use them to communicate with each other. Different birds have different colors of feather depending on if they're male or female. Others might have different patterns depending on if they're a brand new first-year bird or an adult bird that's been around for a while. And we as humans have found many uses for these feathers over the years as well. So as humans, in the winter, one of the things that we like to use feathers for is temperature control. Birds do the same thing. So if you're thinking about a really cold winter day, a lot of us actually have down coats, and those are actually made of bird feathers. So feathers are the key to any bird species. So if you're an eagle or a raptor, you need a few other things in order to survive in your habitat. Raptors are all birds of prey, so they are predatory birds. So they're going to have adaptations to be able to successfully catch and kill their dinner. So the first thing that you need, if you are a raptor, is amazing eyesight. Raptors primarily hunt by their vision. We think on a perfect day, here, at the River Museum, our eagle is right on the port of Ice Harbor, the port of Dubuque, and kind of looking across the main channel there, we have the Mississippi River over into Illinois. If it was a wild bald eagle perched up in the sky doing some circles, some flights, chances are that eagle could see a rabbit running on the hillside of Illinois from our campus. So several miles away. Their eyesight is amazing. And if we look at this is actually a replica bald eagle skull. You can see one of the reasons why their eyesight is so amazing. They have huge eyeballs in comparison to the rest of their head. Their eyes are so big, they don't have room for the muscles that are attached to our eyeballs that let them roll around. So those juveniles, when they're a little annoyed with mom and dad, they actually cannot roll their eyes. In comparison, if our eyes were as big as a bald eagle's in proportion to our body size, our eyes would be bigger than grapefruits. So huge amounts of their skull are taken up by that sense. Now, in addition to being able to find your food, you of course have to be able to actually catch your food. And if you're an eagle, you do that with your talons, with your feet. Bald eagles have 4 talons on each foot, and they have shaped talons depending on what their favorite thing to eat is. So bald eagles, their favorite thing to eat is fish, and their feet and their toes are especially adapted or designed to be able to help them catch things like slippery, slimy pike. That slime layer is a great defense for the northern pike, but it can be hard to hold on to if you're a predator. So bald eagles have an adaptation for that. This is actually one of my favorite teaching props at the River Museum here. The top row are all eagle talons. So the little guy right here, that is the bald eagle talon. The bald eagle talon is small, but you can see it is extra curved, built-in fishing hook. In addition to that, if you were to actually be able to feel the bottom of a bald eagle foot, it would feel really, really rough, like sandpaper. So that's just another way that they can actually grab and hold on to some of their prey items. So, like all raptors, you gotta be able to find your dinner, catch your dinner, and then eat your dinner. So that third adaptation that every eagle has is this great hooked beak. This they use almost like a can opener. They use that beak to rip and tear that food up into pieces small enough that they can actually swallow it. Now, typically these birds are not going to be picky eaters. They're going to eat whatever they can catch, but that beak allows them to rip through the thick fur of things like rabbit or deer if they find something on the side of the road. It also allows them to rip through the thick scales of a lot of our freshwater fish locally. So that beak is an excellent tool for them as well. On the other side, that bald eagle, way more common. There are thousands of them here in the winter. There are hundreds of breeding pairs here in the Midwest as well. So by far, you are more likely to come across a bald eagle. But I do get why there's some confusion, because that classic bald eagle appearance that we think of, that white head, that white tail, brown body, that is a bird that's an adult bald eagle. And it takes a bald eagle 5 to 6 years to actually get that adult plumage that we all recognize. When they're young, they're actually all brown. They have a brown head, a brown tail. They slowly are going to be transitioning from that all brown color in their first year. Over the next several years, they'll get a few white feathers here or there. They'll have white armpits as well. So you can kind of see that whole white, light, spotted stuff underneath the wing. And it's not till they're about 5 years old that they actually have that full white head, yellow beak appearance. So at first glance, it's understandable why people get them confused. However, you're just more likely to come across that bald eagle. One way that we can tell if we're looking at a bald eagle or a turkey vulture is how they move in flight. Turkey vultures are lighter than bald eagles. Turkey vultures weigh just a couple pounds. Bald eagles are a lot heavier than that. So in those winds, the turkey vulture is going to get tossed around a lot more, kind of that teeter-totter, whereas the bald eagle is just going to be nice and solid in that wind pattern. The other key two ways that you could tell a bald eagle from a turkey vulture is look at the wingtips. If you are a turkey vulture, your wingtips are going to be tipped up, and you're actually going to have space between your primary flight feathers. Turkey vultures in flight almost look like they have fingertips. That's an easy way. The other way is how they hold their wings. Turkey vultures hold their wings in a V. V is for vulture. So that's an easy way. Bald eagles straight out, nice and solid. So there's a few tips for you as you're kind of looking up in the sky, enjoying our natural areas, what birds you're sharing the habitat with. Bald eagles weigh anywhere from 6 pounds to 20 pounds. And that's a huge range, and you're probably like, why is there such variety? And that's for several reasons. First off, in the raptor world, the girls are bigger than the boys. It's actually opposite of much of the animal world. So with eagles, locally, so here in Iowa and the tri-state area, our male eagles are going to weigh about 8 to 9 pounds. Our female eagles are going to be around the 11 to 12 pounds. A good rule of thumb is that generally the female will be 1/3 larger than the male. The other big thing that determines size in birds like eagles is where they are hatched. If you are hatched closer to the equator, your body size is going to be smaller. If you are hatched north, so think like Alaska, you're going to be bigger. So that 6-pound male bald eagle would come to us from Florida, whereas that 20-pound female bald eagle would be an Alaska-sized bird. And that really has to do, we believe, with how heat dissipates your body. If you are smaller, you can lose heat more rapidly and be cooler. If you're up north, you have to be able to withstand some pretty cold temperatures. So being able to have that body mass, those extra calories, and that insulation is a bonus for your survival there. So in the eagle world, the female is responsible for laying the eggs and doing much of the incubation or keeping those eggs warm while they're in the nest. The male's job during that same time is to actually go catch food and bring it back to the family and feed the family. And so that divvy of roles means that they just have slightly different body sizes. The other part of that is if you and your partner are different sizes, you actually can hunt slightly different food items. So if all of a sudden there's not a huge amount of food available one year, you're more likely to both survive. The bald eagle holds the record for the largest nest ever built by a bird. That record comes to us out of Florida, And that bald eagle nest was 9 feet across, 20 feet tall, and we believe weighed in at over 2 tons. At that point, the tree broke. Not uncommon for these birds to build such huge nests that the tree actually eventually falls over as well. It just can't support the weight. But that's in part because once birds find a really successful nesting territory, this male and female keep coming back year after year. So the way bald eagles go on a date is the male and female will find each other, they'll do a lot of vocals, but kind of the big test is that they will actually lock talons and cartwheel towards earth. The goal is that they let go of each other before they hit the ground. Doesn't always happen. Now, as they're tumbling, they're testing each other. Do you have the strength and the ability and agility to be a good provider to the family? If yes, they'll actually go back to that nest site, they'll bring in sticks and kind of rearrange the furniture until it's just right, and then each year they will lay up to 4 eggs. This is a replica bald eagle egg. You can see it's the same size as the real deal, so this is what they start out as. And after about 1 month of incubation, so that's again where mom and dad take turns, mainly the female, but they are sitting on those eggs, rolling them around, keeping them warm, protecting them from the elements. And after about 1 month, they hatch out, and they start out itty bitty, and kind of just like these white fuzz balls. And some people think they are really ugly. I think they're adorable, and they grow really, really fast. By the time they are 9 to 10 weeks old, these birds are fully grown. They are as big as they are ever going to get. And at that stage, they actually appear larger than mom or dad. And that's because the first set of flight feathers that a bald eagle gets is actually 1 inch or 2 longer than every other feather it will get in its lifetime. Built-in training wheels for learning how to fly. And they take those first flights when they are approximately 3 months old. And what we see a lot, particularly if any of you watch those web cameras out there, is that we'll see them kind of standing on the edge of the nest, flapping their wings a whole bunch, really building up those flight muscles, and then eventually that wind catches them or they lose their balance and they kind of tumble out of the nest very, very awkwardly. They'll stay with mom and dad for another month or 2 while they perfect their flight skills, while they perfect their hunting skills and everything they need to learn to be a great eagle hunter in the future. But by time migration season hits, so that's in the fall every year, typically September, October, as the weather starts to change, water starts to freeze over, particularly up north, those birds start to move south, and they only go as far south as they need to find reliable food. Which means that here in Iowa, we're actually really lucky because in the winter, a lot of our rivers will stay open. So if you go to where the locks and dams are, that's often a great eagle viewing spot in the winter months because those open waters provide a lot of great fishing opportunity. So our eagle here at the National Mississippi River Museum and Aquarium, like all of our raptors, is considered non-releasable. That means something happened to him in his life where he is unable to survive on his own in the wild, and that is why we get the privilege of caring for him here at the River Museum. Now, Butte is in his 30s, so he is definitely middle-aged at this point, and he had a very important role in the eagle recovery process in the 90s. So right after he became an adult, he was in human care with a female bald eagle, and the 2 of them, their job was to foster eaglets. So they were responsible for teaching eagles everything they need to know to make sure that they're an eagle, some of those basic flights, and just being a good eagle dad. And once those eagles were well enough to be released, they would take them and release them into areas that had low bald eagle populations as part of the recovery. But because he's been in human care for so long, he doesn't have all the skills, like a hunting ability, to be able to survive on his own in the wild. Bald eagles in the wild, it's a very, very difficult lifestyle. You have to learn how to fly, you have to learn how to hunt, you have to learn how to avoid all of the human alterations to the environment, like power lines and cars and roadways. So the vast majority of birds will not reach their first birthday. We believe over 50% of birds will not reach age 1. If you can survive, though, to adulthood, chances are, if you're a bald eagle, a good life would be 15 to 20 years in the wild. The longevity record for a wild bald eagle was 39 years of age. So they can definitely live a very long time. Here in human care, we hope that we could actually add a decade to that. The record for longevity of the oldest eagle in human care was 49 years. So that means we hope to have our bald eagle and have him help us teach people about the bald eagle recovery for many, many years to come. I hope that you've enjoyed learning a little bit about our bald eagle and raptors here at the National Mississippi River Museum and Aquarium today. We would love to have you come down and see them in person, as well as the rest of our campus. Have a great day.